In this video, we're going to talk about the hidden liability in your investment accounts that not enough advisors are talking about. Brad, the retirement guy here, and we talk a lot about taxes on this channel because taxes are one of the largest expenses that you'll have through your retirement. So in this video, I pulled some content from a tax survival class that I teach because I wanted to open your eyes to this hidden liability that's sitting inside and possibly festering in your investment accounts. I wanted to help you understand why it puts you at risk and share with you how you can begin to unravel it. Let's take a look. So according to Ed Slott, a CPA and an author in this space, taxes are a massive risk. He calls it your single biggest retirement risk. They are a massive risk to your retirement, and you're sitting on a hidden liability. Here's an example of how tax-deferred accounts, like your investment accounts, like IRAs and 401ks, they are taxed as ordinary income when funds are distributed, and the government owns a piece of your retirement account in the form of a future liability. And one of the things you're going to see today is that that liability tends to grow and expand over time, effectively costing you more when you're unaware of it and you don't have a plan to adjust. Like for example, in a $1.5 million IRA, pre-tax IRA or 401k, at today's rates in this example for this family, there's a $360,000 embedded tax liability. If that's allowed to fester and grow in there without being effectively unraveled or dismantled, it will expand to $1.1 million of liability, Uncle Sam. So let me share a few quotes that you might have seen and heard in the past. There's a Benjamin Franklin quote to kind of frame this. Nothing can be said to be certain except death and taxes. Here's a judge that said in America, there are two tax systems, one for the informed and one for the uninformed. Both are legal. This video today is going to try to shift you, help you move towards the informed side. Same judge said anyone may so arrange his affairs so that his taxes shall be as low as possible. He is not bound to choose the pattern which best pays the treasury. There's not even a patriotic duty to increase one's taxes. And here is my daughter who picked up a book that I was flipping through recently and said, "Dad, what's this book about?" And I was starting to explain it to her. Well, it's about taxes, about grown-up stuff. She says, "Because it looks like he's stealing." I wanted to share it. And I said, well, yeah, maybe. So I wanted to share that with you there. But here's a eye-opening fact. All taxes have been higher in the past. Highest marginal income tax rates right now, 37%. They've all been higher in the past. Capital gains tax rate right now, 0, 15, and 20 has been higher in the past. Even federal estate taxes have been higher, both in the percent assessed as well as more of the estates that get exposed to the estate tax. And in the state where I'm sitting right now, and you may be sitting right now, Pennsylvania has an inheritance tax on accounts that has in fact been higher in the past. So it makes me ask folks when I teach them this, let's define the word save. And most people say, well, save can mean a few different things. It means I'm trying to tuck money away for this and that. But almost across the board, they come up with a definition, or at least we acknowledge the definition. When we say save, we typically mean we spend less, or we typically mean the costs are lower. If we save money buying a car, we bought the car for less money. If we saved money using coupons, we paid less money for the things we bought. Effectively, save means pay less. And it's really ironic when we get into the world of our retirement accounts that we say that we're saving taxes, or we're taught that we're saving taxes when we defer them in the beginning. We pay 0 in the beginning. But what we don't realize is that that's walking us right towards paying more, paying a lot more than we would have paid in the beginning when we pay it later down the road. And we've seen that visual right here. So in those tax-deferred wrappers, those accounts that are wrapped by tax-deferred wrappers, we effectively have kicked the can down the road. And what I'm sharing with you is that we're expanding that liability. We want our accounts to do better. So we expand that liability over time because we're trying to grow our accounts. And we're also walking right towards potentially higher tax rates. That's effectively a bet we're making. We're trying to keep money off of line 1 of the tax return, which I'm going to share with you in a minute. But the problem is it comes back, and sometimes it comes back with a vengeance. I'll even share with you a smaller example to make it more palpable, because this was a $1.5 million example. Are you really saving when you have $100,000 that you could have converted to Roth today and paid, say, in this example, 20 grand worth of tax? But on the flip side, if that basically expands using that same example from earlier, 5% average, 24 years in that example from just a few moments ago, that $20,000 liability turns into a $64,000 liability, and that's 222% higher the amount we pay in taxes. So we really have to ask ourselves, are we really saving or are we causing ourselves a problem? How do we start to unravel this? Well, first of all, we need to start doing what I call the blood test when it comes to taxes. We need to start looking at your tax return, and we need to start gathering the information, the key figures, some of which are on the tax return, some of which are not on the tax return, but they're critical pieces of information. Because when you're working, most of your wages are showing up here on line one. And quite frankly, you're trying to keep money off of line one by pushing it into those pre-tax accounts. But when you retire, you stop having dollars show up on line one, but where they show up is down here on lines 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. They start to show up there, and in some cases, they start to show up very heftily, especially when Uncle Sam starts forcing that money out of your accounts. The irony is, with the RMDs, our required minimal distributions, right now, they either start for you somewhere between the ages 73 and 75, depending on when you were born. But this visual shows a family who was retired, deferred Social Security a little bit, turned their Social Security and a pension on, and then right here at their age 73, they're going to be facing required distributions. The irony about this is we want our accounts to do really well. But when they do really well, those required distributions get larger and Uncle Sam gets to take a much bigger piece. Quite frankly, depending on the size of your accounts, the cumulative RMDs through the course of a retirement, especially if this is not unraveled and you don't get out of the way of this, can be very large. And in this example, all of this money right here, these required distributions that are forced to come out every single year, they are fully taxable. And that just increases our tax liability to Uncle Sam. Here's another visual. If we don't do anything about this, what tends to happen, this blue line, this blue wavy line, is an example of taxable income through a person's retirement. What you'll notice is, without any type of proactive work to get out of the way of this, they think they're in a lower tax bracket and could be for a few years in the beginning, and then they turn on a pension and start taking some income from their retirement accounts, and then RMDs start. And once that happens, they will never see lower tax brackets ever again. And Uncle Sam gets to control whatever those tax brackets are. So the moral of this wave, this blue wave you see here, is that if we don't get out of the way of this, our tax liability continues to grow over time. Now, contrast that with, what if we proactively took advantage of tax-free accounts, Roth accounts, life insurance accounts that we can get money into and effectively disinherit Uncle Sam? What if we did that in the early years of our retirement? We may, in fact, see those lower tax brackets that we're talking about. We may, in fact, be able to insulate ourselves from Uncle Sam for the remainder of our retirement and our spouse's retirement. And we may, in fact, be able to pay a lot less in taxes over the course of time, leaving a lot more in our accounts for us to grow, for us and our family. One last question. Where do Roth IRA distributions and life insurance distributions show up on a tax return? They don't. And that's why I wanted to share this. I share this with the folks in class. They don't show up. So quite frankly, we can keep taxable income low and the total tax low while we have income coming in from Roth IRA and life insurance distributions that's fully non-taxable. So two of the things you can take away from this short video here is that when we have a longer view, almost a map of what our taxable liability may look like through retirement, we can really wrap our heads around what that liability could look like for our family and what that might look like if we address it versus not address it. And then year to year, using your tax return and looking at your tax return and seeing how various withdrawals or conversions might fall onto your tax return. That's where you get to see year by year, how can you get out of the way of that lifetime tax number that you would pay Uncle Sam if you didn't proactively unravel this. And using that, you can start to calculate the impact to your family and how much you can keep in your pocket. This is really not that hard. It just takes a certain skill set and a certain proactive approach that, unfortunately, I don't see across the industry. And that's why I'm sharing this with you. And I offer, if you're not actively working with me on this right now, just go to the website, revisionistwealth.com. Take a look at our process. Schedule time for a 15-minute phone call. That way you can start to find out what might you actually have to pay Uncle Sam over the course of time, and then how can you make that number less. Here's to your retirement.